One needs to know the bare bones of business in order to get by. In the end, everything is a business transaction of sorts, from renting a car to romantic relationships. We'll break down the brass tacks of business English with my buddy Kyle Millar on this week's episode of FYI. Welcome to For Your Info.
En inglés.
You got it. Hello, 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 my amigos, and welcome to another exciting edition of FYI. And today we mean business. We mean business significa que vamos en serio. Well, we always mean business, but today we mean business on a different level. And that's because we're going to be talking business. We're going to talk turkey. To talk turkey, if you remember from our Thanksgiving episode, es hablar en serio. And I have enlisted the help, I should say, the aid of a great friend of mine, a guy who knows his stuff. Esto es una forma de decir que sabe de lo que habla. He knows his stuff, and most of you know who he is. And if you don't, well, take note. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my good friend, Kyle Millar.
Hey, Alberto. Great to hear from you, man. Great to hear from you and great to be a part of your podcast.
Wow, we've been talking about it for a while because we've been on each other's radio shows, but this is the first time that you've been here on the podcast, and it's an absolute pleasure, Kyle.
Well, hey, the pleasure's all mine. You know, we've done, a lot of shows together over the years with Vaughn, and in different places and different projects, but it's pretty cool. It's a pleasure to be a part of your own FYI podcast for sure.
Awesome. And we're going to talk about your podcasts now because you have podcasts, you have radio shows, you have books. You're what we would call, Kyle, a jack of all trades. Let's say
That's right.
A jack of all trades, somebody who does a lot of different things or wears many hats. Let's say we were in a bar right now and I said, "Hey, what do you do?" Kyle, how do you introduce yourself? You do a lot of things.
Yeah, I do a lot of things, maybe too many things. And since we're here to talk about business, I guess I can say that I've had a few different business endeavors over the years. In terms of media work, I host a show called The Drive Time Show on Vaughn Radio. I also do a podcast, which is on a little bit of a hiatus, a little bit of a break. I do a podcast, or I was doing it during the quarantine, during COVID, called The Kyle Millar Show, which is available on Spotify. And I'll probably get back into that in the new year as well. And I do, a variety of media projects with Vaughn out of Madrid, Grupo Vaughan. And I am the author of a couple of books, most recently the Business English book called, quite simply, Business English, Tu guía para conseguir trabajo y triunfar en los negocios en inglés. Now, I'll just say as well, I do have involvement now in a restaurant business in Madrid as well. I have this sort of entrepreneurial itch, as I say, the itch that needs to be scratched. And so I got involved in a restaurant business, so I work with them. I've also had an export business. I was exporting Spanish olive oil to the United States for several years. So I've done a lot of things in business, but my one base over the last many years has been Vaughn and doing media and radio work with them, which is always a lot of fun, as you know.
Well, that's great, Kyle, because really, I mean, you do a little bit of everything. You're an adventurer. The word you used before was perfect, endeavors. You're always seeking new endeavors, and they're varied. That's what I like about you. One of the many things I like about you is, you like to try your hand at different things. And that I think is interesting because, well, it makes you a well-rounded person,
I think so. We say in English, variety is the spice of life. And I think that's true.
Absolutely.
You have to try different things. And when I'm 80 years old, I want to look back and say, I tried different things. I lived life. And that means, and I think this is an important business lesson as well, that also includes, believe it or not, it includes failure, right? You have to, I think, embrace failure, especially if you're going to be open-minded about trying things business-wise, in terms of business-wise, and also just professionally in your life. If you're not afraid to take a chance, you just won't experience that many things. So I'm willing to accept the fact that sometimes things are going to fail. Sometimes things aren't going to last. Well, nothing lasts forever. But hey, I want to look back someday and say, I'm glad I tried this and tried that. Some of them will have been successes. Some of them will have been failures, but they all, I think, contribute to the person that you become.
And Kyle, you're a person who likes to go out on a limb, arriesgarte. You like to take risks. You like to go out on a limb. And we're going to talk about what made you decide to write a business English book, because as we just found out, you host radio shows, you present, create radio shows, you run restaurants. I mean, the gamut, as we say. The gamut is el rango completo. So, but firstly, let's take a look at the intro. At the intro of the show, I like to sprinkle a lot of really good vocabulary in there. So what I'm going to do, Kyle, is I'll go through the intro, and maybe you could explain the words that I've chosen. So, for example, one needs to know the bare bones of business. Kyle, what's the bare bones?
Ooh, yeah. So the bare bones would be the essentials, right? What
the essentials.
The necessities, lo básico, right? The essentials, I would say. Yeah.
And then I say, in order to get by. What does that mean? To get by. It's a great phrasal verb to know.
Yeah, to get by. It's like, I guess you say salir del paso, to get by, to survive, to manage, to manage often with limited resources, or, to get by. Yeah, to survive or manage, I would say.
Absolutely. And then I said, in the end, al final, everything is a business transaction of sorts. And it's true, even like when we're kids and we're negotiating that cookie with our moms. We're like, listen, I'll clean my room if you give me cookies or ice cream. We're always negotiating. And then I said, from renting a car, remember guys, the British say to hire a car, que es alquilar. In the United States, we would say to rent a car. Do you say rent or hire, Kyle?
Yeah, we would say rent. So we would rent things and typically hire people. That's
okay.
The way I think.
Good.
You'd hire a worker. I guess you'd probably say the same, right? You'd hire a worker, you'd hire a person, but you'd rent a car or
an apartment. Absolutely. And then I went, I think maybe I went out on a limb over here, Kyle, and I said, even romantic relationships have a business element. Did I go too far, or is that partly true?
You mean you're selling yourself, right? You're selling yourself, and you're trying to find a partner, but you're offering yourself, and you're looking for something and someone in return. So sure, I think like anything else, like you've said, these are all, anytime there's an exchange going on, it's kind of like a business, if you will, but a transaction. Sure.
Even like, okay, well, I'll take out the trash if you do the I mean, we're always negotiating. And as you said, we're selling ourselves. And that's what it boils down to. And then I said in the end of the intro, we'll break down, desglosar, it's a great business word, to break down the brass tacks. And this is another way to say the bare bones, the brass tacks of business English with my buddy, mi colega, Kyle Millar. And that's what we're doing. So guys, Kyle is an author. If you haven't heard his radio show, it's called Drive Time. It's on Vaughn Radio. He's got the Kyle Millar Show. He's got restaurants in Madrid. The thing you should do is follow him on social media. And Kyle, before we get into the question, the dire question, because I'm dying to know, what made you write this book? Tell us where we can find you on the internet, on social media.
Well, you can find me on Instagram or Twitter. Believe it or not, I still use Twitter. And it's on those accounts, it's I'm Kyle Millar. So I am Kyle Millar. So my last name is Miller with an A. It's written like Millar, if you were Spanish, Millar. So Millar, Imkyle And I also have a Facebook group called English with Kyle. So I'd encourage people to check that out, English with Kyle, and I post some videos in there, and I collect questions from listeners or members there, and I either answer them in the group or on the radio program or on the podcast, whatever is most fitting. So anyone who wants to improve their English, if you're using Facebook, you can join the English with Kyle Facebook group.
Excellent, excellent. Guys, I'll put some links to Kyle's stuff in the show notes. But what we came to focus on the most today was, as I said before, we mean business. Vamos en serio. And Kyle wrote, and I said it, and I'll say it again, and I've said it a million times, the definitive business Bible in English. If you don't have the book, you've got to pick it up. You can pick it up at Von Tienda or wherever fine books are sold. Kyle, tell us about this book. What was your motivation? What made you decide I'm going to write a book, a very comprehensive book about business and how to do business in English?
Well, I had been teaching with Vaughn for quite some time, but my background, my academic background is in business. I actually studied finance, and I worked in a bank in Canada before I came to Spain. I studied finance, and I did an MBA as well. So I found that there was a need, with Vaughn, working with Vaughn, a lot of the students, with any time you're teaching English in Spain, a lot of the adult students are professionals, and they need business English. They need English in the workplace, let's say. And I felt like there wasn't a definitive book that had everything in one place. So I thought, well, this will be a chance for me to bring together my teaching experience with my business background and create a resource that will be useful to these people. So it's more of it's not a Don Quixote, right, where you sit there and read it from front to back. It's more of a reference tool. So there are very focused chapters here on negotiations, on email, on meetings, on numbers and money, and then advanced topics like economics, accounting, marketing, focused business areas, I should say. So this is something where if you have a meeting coming up, you can say, okay, I'm just going to grab the book, and I need to prepare a few things quickly, a few key phrases or some concepts for presenting my ideas. And so you can skip right to that chapter, right to that section, and find relevant information that you can immediately apply in whatever the business circumstance might be,
Right. It has an index where you can reference. So if you're preparing a job interview or you have some negotiations coming up or maybe you just need to prepare a presentation.
Yeah. So I felt that this product was needed. I felt like a lot of the business English products were sort of a collection of kind of like office talk, which is great. And there's a lot of that out there, and that's wonderful. And, but I felt like this book, even for a native English speaker, I actually it gets a little bit academic. Like I get into, for example, accounting, and I explain, the accounting cycle, for example, and I explain investments. I explain financial analysis and things that if you work in that field, you'll know that topic. But if you don't, you might not even know, even in English, you might not even know that topic. Like I have people, native English speakers, who have read the book and say, wow, I learned a lot about finance or about investing or about accounting or about marketing, SWOT analysis and things like that. They learn essentials of business through the book. But if you do work in that area, you're probably going to be familiar with these terms, but what you need is to know them in English. So this really gets in depth in these business areas, I think, unlike any other product on the market.
It's great. It is, as I said, comprehensive. It's complete, and you can use it. It's a resource that you can use for decades to come. And if I'm not mistaken, and correct me, sometimes my memory is a bit foggy, but I remember doing some videos. So it's more than just a book that you read. It's kind of like a multimedia material. Am I correct here?
It is. I think it's one of the few books that has both audio included and also videos. So I think we were kind of ahead of the trend with QR codes. Now they're everywhere. In restaurants, you scan your QR code to see the menu.
Sure.
But we put this in our book years ago, and you scan the QR code, and it takes you to an instructional video. And I'll admit there are some humorous moments, as you would know, in some of those videos. Most of the videos are sort of a don't do this, instead do that sort of format, where we have some common mistakes in the business setting, like the way you introduce yourself. And we had we relied on a few interesting characters to help us make those points, and it became a lot of fun. Actually, making those videos was a lot of fun, and you may recall working on those yourself.
I remember that you typecast me as the lazy or the bad employee. But I had a lot of fun. As you said, guys, you got to check it out. Kyle, tell us the title of the book again so people can Google it, or they can go to Von Tienda and pick up a copy.
Yeah, so it's called Business English, which I think is the perfect title. Business English, and the subtitle is Tu guía para conseguir trabajo y triunfar en los negocios en inglés. So I just will add that, originally I just wrote the book with just all the business content, but then I was asked, they said, the publishing people said, could you add content on finding a job? Because a lot of people are looking for work. So I said, okay, and we built out, or I wrote out more sections on cover letters, job interviews, CVs, and even the job search. So that's in there as well. So it's not just a tool for people that are working, but also if you're searching for work and you want to apply in English for jobs, there are resources for that as well.
I remember our acting teacher said, "What's your job?" And of course, everybody said to act, right? As an actor. And she said, no, to look for a job. So really, everybody's job, even if you're, in a job that you love right now, down the road, who knows? You might have to interview, send a resume. Again, sell yourself in any kind of situation. So what I want to do here on the pod today, in both parts of the show, in the first part and then in the bonus part, we're going to take a look at some of the key sections from the book and just scratch the surface, which is a really good expression, which means tocar el superficie. We're not going to go in depth, but just give you some of Kyle's advice, some of his insight about, things that he's learned throughout his experience working and studying in this world and also writing this book. So let's start where you said, Kyle, with getting a job, which might be the hardest part sometimes, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think so, especially, with the way the economy is and has been for the last few years. It's challenging, and the world is more and more competitive. So you do have to stand out. Right? You have to have a profile that stands out, and so you have to have a strong CV, or as we typically say in American English, a resume. You have to have a strong resume or a strong CV, and also I would say a concise cover letter, a good cover letter, but a concise cover letter that gets to the point and attracts yourself. It's important when you're applying. Usually there are many, many, many applicants, so you really have to do something to stand out. And a lot of the time, the sort of textbook qualifications, and when I say textbook, I don't actually mean from a textbook, but I mean typical, common qualifications.
Ordinary.
Like, I've got the degree that's needed, so I'm qualified. Well, that's not necessarily the case, but the typical qualifications probably everybody that's applying is going to have. So in the end, it often comes down to the personality differences or the real character qualifications that might make you stand out and give you the edge when it comes to getting that job.
The edge, that's a great word, the competitive edge. And it's true. That's why I guess in the United States, and I imagine in Canada, they're always pushing extracurricular activities, clubs, because they say, okay, your grades are one thing, but let's see, what else are you doing? You know, what kind of person are you? Are you motivated? Are you doing work with charity? You know, they want to see that, like you said, anybody can get good grades. You study the material, and that's that. And as you said, it's competitive, or as we say, when something is highly competitive, it's cutthroat. So I guess what you're saying too, you want to stand out, and all you have is a resume and a cover letter to do that. And you have to be concise as well. So Kyle, some do's and don'ts for cover letters and resumes.
Yeah, well, first of all, I think one great thing you can do to make yourself stand out and also show off your English a little bit is to use descriptive adjectives. So when you're talking about yourself, instead of saying, instead of listing your university degree and saying, well, bachelor's degree, you can say, I excelled in such and such a course, or I achieved, and also when describing work, professional experience, I accomplished this. I increased sales by X percent. So you're using descriptive words to really describe what you did, not just saying, well, I had this job, but laying out in bullet points what you did in that job, what you accomplished, what you achieved. And then also when describing yourself in your cover letter, using descriptive adjectives, words like determined, hardworking,
driven,
trustworthy, driven, motivated,
team
reliable.
player. Mm-hmm. Sure.
Absolutely.
Right.
So
your choice of words, I mean, in the end, that's what you're saying is your choice of words is so important, because really, how are you selling yourself with a resume and a cover letter on paper in black and white?
Yeah, and another great trick is to carefully read the job description that this may seem obvious, but to some people it isn't, but carefully read the job description that you're applying for, and then prepare several different CVs. And that's much easier to do now in the age of the word processor on your computer, Microsoft Word. You can have one version of your CV that's directed towards a specific type of job or a specific skills that they're looking for, and then you modify that, plugging in keywords related to what the job posting says they're looking for, and you create a slightly different version. And then you save that. So at the end, maybe you have 10 different CVs. It's not 10 times as much work. Maybe it's twice as much work, but not 10 times as much work, because you're just copy and pasting, modifying. And so then you have a cover letter and even a CV that is adjusted to the job. It's tailored, as we say, to the job that you're targeting.
Hecho a medida, tailored. Well, it can be something, I'm using a silly example, but it can be something as simple as if you're applying to a job at Vodafone, which is a British company, and you write the word color using a U, because that's how the British do it, and that's a British company. Now, is it wrong if you don't? No. But like you said, you're adapting, you're trying to stand out. And that's another great point you said. A lot of people, a company will tell you what they're looking for. They'll tell you, look at their website, their mission statement. And as long as you say something along those lines, you'll get their attention.
Absolutely. I had a job interview once with the bank. It was with the Bank of Montreal. And I went to their website, and there was literally a section on the website that said, questions you may be asked in a job interview with Bank of Montreal.
Oh my! You can't make it any clearer.
Now I don't expect every company to have that, but it's there to reward the people that are doing
they're
the
telling
homework,
you too.
right? And that's
it's
the
like
bare minimum.
When you're courting a girl. When you're courting a girl, look at it the same way. You like a girl. She'll give you signs. She'll tell you what she likes. You got to be paying attention. And in a company, they're going to tell you these are our values. This is our mission statement. We come here every day to do this. So if you align what Kyle is saying, don't change who you are, but align what you do and who you are with the goals, the ideas that make that company that you're interviewing for.
Yeah. And another thing, when you do get to the interview stage, is to make sure that you have questions for the company. Having questions is a great way to you form it as a question, but you use it as an opportunity to prove that you know something. So instead of saying, what's the pay? What are my hours? Instead of
when is our vacation?
Like that, yeah, exactly. Instead of asking questions like that, ask something that proves that you've done your homework. For example, when I was interviewing for this bank, I researched and I found out that they were buying another bank in the country. They were actually in the process of negotiating to buy another bank. And so I said, look, I realize that you're in the process of buying out this other bank. I'm wondering how that may affect career possibilities in the future or the strategic vision for the company. So yes, I kind of wanted to know the answer. I did want to know the answer to that question, but more importantly, it proved that I'm aware of what's happening in the industry.
You did your homework.
And here's a good expression. I have my ear to the ground, right? I have my ear to the ground on what's happening in the industry, and I know what's going on. So rather than giving the impression of someone who's, okay, I've just applied to 20 jobs today, and I'm just throwing out the same CV to everyone to see what happened. No, I'm here because I want to work with you. I understand your industry. I've done my homework, and I'm ready. And that sort of thing, doing your homework, checking the website, asking intelligent questions is a great way to establish that.
Great, Kyle. I'm telling you, this is indispensable advice. The only thing is we have to wrap up. We've reached the end of the first part. I'm telling you, Kyle, every show flies by for me, but I can't believe that we've already gotten through the first part of today's show. It's fascinating for somebody, as you said, who already speaks English to talk about all these different concepts, about selling yourself, about negotiating. And we're going to look at that in the bonus part of today's show. We're going to look at negotiations, presentations, using English on the phone, marketing, and some of the most common business idioms. And if you guys would like to join us in the bonus part, remember, you can become a patron. Go over to patreon.com/Alberto Alonso, and you can get bonus content, PDFs with all the vocabulary, weekly and monthly classes with me, and so much more. You can find out more on patreon.com/Alberto Alonso. And a big shout out to my super duper students, Mara, Javier, Roberto, David, Jose Maria, Mila, Alex, Patricio, Edgar, and Loles. And don't forget about my interstellar students, Paco, Diego, Carmen, and Diana. Keep up the great work. And remember, guys, if you want more information or just some free samples, drop me a line. It's patreon.com/Alberto Alonso. And you are going to learn so much more. I'm going to learn so much more in the bonus part. And Kyle, I just want to repeat the information again before we take a quick break. Give us your social media, give us the name of the book, because I really think everybody should know this information.
All right, great. Thanks, Alberto. Yeah, the book is Business English, Tu guía para conseguir trabajo y triunfar en los negocios en inglés. And folks can find me on Instagram. I'm Kyle Millar. I am Kyle Millar, Millar, se escribe. I am Kyle Millar. That's on Instagram and on Twitter, and they can also join me on Facebook in my free group called English with Kyle.
All right, well, that's great stuff. So many resources and so much more to look at in the bonus part of today's FYI.